Reports confirm that Ukraine has successfully eliminated 8 of Putin's most sophisticated high-value defense systems through a focused assault. 8 cutting-edge systems just erased from existence. That strike was absolutely essential. The magnitude of this damage announced this week is genuinely astonishing, not merely in financial terms, but from a strategic standpoint. When we reference 8 systems, we're outlining the abrupt, almost precision-like dismantling of Russia's multi-layered air defense throughout a critical operational zone. This represents targeted erosion. This goes beyond simple attrition. And before we dive deeper into these remarkable details, the expenses, the hardware, the specialist unit responsible for this achievement, if you value receiving transparent coverage on these developments, please click the like button. It genuinely helps ensure this essential analysis reaches a broader audience. And if you stand with Ukraine's defensive efforts, make certain you subscribe immediately. This crucial information matters. Our objective today is to look beyond that initial headline and, measure this devastation. We must examine which particular advanced systems were eliminated and understand the extended strategic and, importantly, the economic consequences of this enormous concentrated strike. The preliminary numbers alone are staggering. We're discussing a total aggregate expense for these 8 systems that surges beyond the $250 million threshold. That's $250 million of exceptionally sophisticated equipment just vanished. But the genuine cliffhanger here, the information you definitely need to stay for, involves the elimination of one particular target. A scarce radar system, the control center of a powerful missile installation. Destroying that individual element fundamentally transforms the tactical equilibrium in that region. That strike is the actual headline. Alright, so let's begin with the evidence, because the accuracy of these assertions is what provides them such significance. The data originates directly from the General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces. They outlined this achievement in a statement released Thursday, January 8, 2026. So, this represents a formal documented assessment, not merely some speculation from the battlefield. And who's accountable for carrying this out? Because this reveals much about developing military competencies. The recognition belongs to the operators within the Asgard Battalion. They are a specialist element of the 412th Nemesis Brigade of the Special Operations Forces, or by their technical designation, the 412th Separate Brigade of Nemesis Unmanned Systems. And their designation reveals their preferred armament. Thus, here's where things become genuinely fascinating. They didn't depend on traditional costly aircraft or conventional long-range missiles for this operation. Did they? No, absolutely not. The Ukrainian forces engaged these high-value air defense systems utilizing drones. This represents a textbook demonstration of asymmetric warfare at peak efficiency. You're observing a unit employing relatively affordable, frequently commercially adaptable unmanned technology to methodically eliminate multi-million-dollar defensive installations. The expense differential is simply remarkable. It is. A strike operation might cost what? Tens of thousands of dollars to eliminate something valued at tens of millions. And when you calculate the 8 systems from this latest period, the combined expense, as documented, exceeds $250 million. This represents military capital Russia cannot rapidly or simply replace, particularly with all the global limitations on microelectronics and sanctions. That background is essential. Citing the figure, $250 million is one matter. Comprehending the ramification is something else. We aren't simply discussing finances. We're discussing operational readiness. When these installations are eliminated, replacing them requires specialized production, sophisticated components, and considerable time, occasionally years. This damage seriously undermines Russia's capacity to deliver that advanced air defense protection. Absolutely. Okay, let's examine the technical details. What precisely was struck? This wasn't simply a haphazard assortment of targets, was it? No, it indicates a strategy of comprehensive saturation. The approach was evidently to engage multiple defensive layers concurrently. The assessment documents the elimination of 4 high-mobility medium-range installations, 2 Tor M2S and 2 Buks. Let's reflect on that for our audience. Why is striking both the Tor and the Buk series meaningful? They perform comparable roles, correct? They do. but they constitute different defensive tiers. Consider it like concentric security perimeters. The Buk series, the M1, M2, or M3, is extremely mobile. It frequently deploys with mechanized units, offering a protective canopy for advancing forces. They are the direct battlefield guardians. Okay, and the Tor? The Tor systems and the destroyed 2M2S and 1M1 in this assessment are usually the ultimate close-range barrier point defense installations. They are frequently assigned to safeguard high-value stationary assets, command centers, airfields, things of that nature. They're exceptionally automated, very rapid to respond. So eliminating both categories means the complete framework of how you defend your frontline forces has been, well, it's been demolished in this sector. That's 7 systems so far. Let's complete the roster of 8. Right, we also have one Buk M3, which is a considerably newer, extensively modernized variant, and one Strela 10, an older short-range installation. So, a total of 7 systems spanning from very short range, the Strela 10, through modernized medium range like the Buk M3. This combination is what breaks down that layered defense concept you referenced. Precisely. The objective of air defense is redundancy. If a threat passes the Buk, the Tor is meant to intercept it. When you remove this variety, you create massive gaping vulnerabilities in coverage for everything from cruise missiles to high-altitude drones. Before we transition to the most significant strike, I must inquire, these assertions 8 systems originate from Ukraine's general staff. What proof exists to substantiate this? That's a legitimate concern. While we depend on Ukrainian assessments for the exact figures, the situation aligns with independently confirmable visual documentation regularly published by these particular units, the Nemesis Brigade. Yeah, we frequently observe the recordings. Furthermore, the operational consequence, the resulting absence of air defense in specific zones, often validates the assertions, even if we cannot verify every individual strike. Understood? Okay, let's devote some substantial focus now to the 8th target. This is the undeniable crown jewel strike of the whole operation, the S-350 radar system. This is where the economic and strategic consequence truly climaxes. It is unquestionably the most substantial strategic damage in this complete collection. The S-350 is among Russia's more recent platforms. The expense of the complete S-350 system is projected to be approximately $130 million. Wow. So that's over half of the $250 million aggregate from just a single target. And they didn't simply strike a vehicle transporting missiles. They precisely engaged the operational control center of the installation. They did. The critical element that was effectively targeted and destroyed was the 50N6E multifunctional radar station. This isn't merely a simple antenna. It's the advanced digitally networked command and control core of the entire S-350 installation. So, what makes the 50N6E radar so vital that its destruction renders the complete $130 million installation inoperative? The specifications are remarkable. The 50N6E radar is engineered for extensive situational awareness. It enables the automatic identification of up to 100 air targets concurrently. Envision a massive drone swarm or a missile assault. This system is constructed to immediately categorize, prioritize, and monitor all of them. Critically, it monitors up to 8 targets simultaneously for engagement. Losing this radar doesn't merely eliminate a firing platform. It entirely disables the S-350's capacity to orchestrate any large-scale defense. So, if we relate this to the broader context, striking the central eyes and brain, the radar, is exponentially more destructive than simply striking the missile launcher itself. It's more severe than that. The missile launchers can be reloaded. They can be repositioned. But when you eliminate this sophisticated 50N6E radar, you establish a critical tactical void. The entire $130 million installation becomes, well, it becomes ineffective, a stationary target. This extraordinary operation is impressive independently, but it's vital that we recognize it as part of a significantly larger continuing trend. Isn't it? This is systematic doctrine, not merely fortune. Correct. The elimination of these 8 systems is simply the most current, highly concentrated instance. We've observed comparable actions intensifying. For example, just prior to this primary assessment on January 1, 2026, those identical forces destroyed 2 additional costly Russian anti-aircraft missile installations. So, we're observing persistent high-value degradation concentrated exclusively on air defense. And significantly, the operational range appears to be extending dramatically. That extension is the fundamental strategic conclusion here. We are observing Ukrainian forces, particularly through unmanned systems, engaging hundreds of kilometers into Russian operational territory. They recently struck the P-14F Lena long-range radar and the Nebo SDU radar installation. And where were those objectives positioned? In the Voronezh region of Russia, a considerable distance from the Ukrainian frontier. This isn't frontline combat, this is deep incursion. And we also recall that earlier strike on the highly sophisticated S-400 Triumph system in the Kursk region, also hundreds of kilometers deep. This poses a question for you, the listener. Why commit so much effort to strike radars so distant? It's the core of the Nemesis doctrine. These long-range engagements force Russia to relocate their remaining early warning and air defense installations even further backward. Every kilometer those radars withdraw, their capacity to observe and control the airspace over Ukraine diminishes substantially. Their coverage simply contracts, so they establish a zone of protected airspace merely by denial. Precisely. And second, it creates enormous logistical pressure. Russia now must allocate scarce, advanced assets to defend these newly exposed systems deep within their own territory. It's a masterful method to occupy enemy resources using comparatively affordable assets. It's a masterful strategy. Use low-cost drones to dismantle a multi-billion-dollar shield, including the S-350 radar, and subsequently force the adversary to withdraw their remaining assets. The overall conclusion must be the proving capability of drone technology. We are observing the methodical dismantling of advanced layered air defense networks by these unmanned systems forces. The equilibrium of power in detection and defense is being fundamentally recalibrated. The elimination of that 50N6E radar, the one capable of tracking 100 targets, genuinely emphasizes the transformation. So the concluding thought for you to consider is this. How does the methodical destruction of these sophisticated detection systems alter the equation for the deployment of cruise missiles, aircraft, and high-altitude drones by the defending forces? If the adversary is systematically blinded, it creates a substantial and expanding tactical superiority. It represents a profound, evolving operational transformation that we'll certainly be monitoring very carefully. You've been listening to J&J's Military Report, where we examine the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. We'll catch you next time.